Today I'm going to show you how to use crayons to blend colors so you don't have just, an apple is red and a leaf is green. You can make colors blend together to create a more varied look and to give your picture a little more interest. So we're going to create sort of a sunset effect with the crayons today, but you could use this for anything from, like I said, creating a leaf that's not just one solid color. It can have different variations in it, to creating shadows and blending colors to make something look like it's going from a dark to a light and things like that. So we're going to start by using the lightest crayon, our yellow crayon, in the sky part, and I'm just going over it lightly from side to side with this yellow crayon and working my way down the paper. And as I get lower on the paper, I'm going to press lighter and not fill it in quite so much. Just like that. And then I'm going to go to my next crayon. It's kind of a yellowish orange. So my next lightest. And do the same thing and overlapping the yellow, going over top of some of the yellow that I already did. I'm going to leave the top part just plain yellow without any orange in it. But then I'm going to take this and go a little bit lower. A little bit lower than the yellow ended. Just like that. And then I move up to the solid orange. So the next one is a little darker than the last one. And again, I'm going to start by overlapping a little bit with that orange I just finished. I'm just pressing lightly, going side to side, bringing it down the paper. And then I'm going to use red for my final color. And I do the same thing. Now you'll notice I'm stopping before the bottom of my paper. I'm leaving some space because I'm going to add some water into my picture. So I'm not going all the way to the bottom because that bottom part is going to be like a lake or an ocean or something like that. So I have this whole thing filled with the colors from lightest to darkest, yellows, oranges, and reds. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start back at the yellow again. And this time I'm going to go over it, but I'm going to press a little harder. This is going to help kind of blend the colors that I already have together. And you'll notice it'll start to change from a really light yellow to a brighter yellow. And where it meets the orange, it'll start to blend together to make a yellowish orange in between the two. That. And then I'm going to take the next color that I used and do the same thing, pressing a little harder, starting on top of that yellow I just did and going down just like before. Again, this is just blending the colors together, helping them create that effect of one turning into the other instead of just a straight line dividing them. And then I'm going to do my next darkest one that I used. It's kind of orangish red, and do the same thing. And then finally my red. So you can see how that creates a yellow that slowly fades into an orange and then into a red. The next thing we're going to do is the water. So this is going to be a little different because I don't want it to blend quite as much, because I want it to look like there's colors reflecting off of the water. So I'm going to take the colors that I used for the sky and do them the same colors but in reverse. So I started with yellow and ended with red on the sky. This time I'm going to start with red. And I'm just kind of doing lines that go side to side. They don't have to completely fill everything in, because again, it's just a little bit of a reflection on the water to help give that effect that the light is shining onto the water. And then I'm going to use my dark orange and do the same thing. And again, it doesn't have to fill it in completely, it's just to give that reflecting effect. And then my light orange, and lastly my yellow. So there I have some colors reflecting off the water, and then I need to use blue to fill in that white so that it looks like it's water instead of just a white paper. So I'm going to use a light blue first. I'm kind of filling in the white spots. You can go over some of the colors you already did. It'll help blend them a little bit so it looks like they're mixing a little with the reflection. But you don't have to go over them too much. Mostly just trying to fill in the white spaces. And then once you have them all filled in with that light blue, I would get a little bit darker blue and do the same thing. It doesn't have to fill it in completely, it's just going to create some lines. It'll give it an effect kind of like there's little ripples on the water or something like that. So you can see how using more than one color of crayon in the same area can create an interesting effect and give it a little more interest than when you just color a solid blue for the water. And then I'm going to take one more crayon that's a darker blue and go over it one last time. So now I have a sunset and some water, and then to finish it off I'm actually going to use a black and create kind of a silhouette so it looks like I have some land back here. And a silhouette is when you have light shining from the back, the object just looks like almost like a black outline, like a black shadow. So I'm going to just create some hills back here. You could create them however you want. Maybe you want a city or something instead. I'm going to create some hills and just color the hills in with this black. I'm doing it right along where the water meets the sky. So it's kind of like the sun is setting behind the hills, right over that water. And I'm just filling these in solid black. I don't need to blend these at all because this part of the picture doesn't need that. So it'll offer a nice contrast to the colors that I blended earlier. And then if you want to, you can add some other details to help give your picture a little more interest. Add some other silhouette shapes or something. So I think I'll add a few. I'm going to add some birds up here flying away into the sunset. And then I'm going to add a little palm tree, like it's kind of sticking up into my view. So I'm going to make just kind of a curved line like that and make it so that the top is skinnier and the bottom is a little bit wider. And again, I'm just making a silhouette, like the sun is shining behind it and all you can see is like this shadowy silhouette. And then I'm going to make 4 curved lines coming off of that. Those are the branches of the tree. And then I'll make little triangles coming off of those, like the leaves of a palm tree hanging down. So you can think how you could use crayons in a way like this with blending to give your picture more interest. You don't have to use crayons to just block things in a solid color in each area. You could give them different values, different tints and shades to help give it a little more interest, give people something more to look at. Just adding these leaves, and then we'll be done. And there we have a beautiful sunset made with crayons. Keep coloring.